All right, Jordan. It's time for the weekly injury update for the Tigers. This is getting better by the week, thankfully, for the Tigers. I feel like we're in a much better position than we were a couple weeks ago when it comes to the injury front. First and foremost, shout out to Adam Randall. Apparently, he was ready to play uh, again last week. They held him anyway. Obviously, they were going to try to hold him if they could, and they didn't, need him against Florida State. So he did travel, he did dress, but he did not play. Um, Same thing for Colin Sadler. He did travel. He was ready to play, but they held him and they were able to. But that's absolutely insane for Adam Randall to have a foot surgery, regardless of how invasive or non-invasive it was, to already be back and ready to play. And I assume that he is going to play at least some, maybe limited snaps, but I'm assuming he will play against Wake Forest this Saturday when the Tigers come to town. So shout out to him for just battling back. I was hoping that he wouldn't be out very long, and thankfully he wasn't. I hope he looks ready. I hope it doesn't limit him the rest of the season. I can't wait to see how he performs against Wake Forest. Tyler Brown getting work back in slowly, got some snaps last week, limited snaps, but, did get a little bit of action. Same thing with Peter Woods, played. I think he only played like 20-ish snaps in the game, so he was limited on his snap count as well. But looked good out there. Looked like the Peter Woods we would expect. Already mentioned Colin Sadler, Harris Sewell, still day-to-day. DeMonte Capehart, he was playing in the game as well, but a little limited still, I think. So as far as I know, that is the injury update for the Tigers. What are your thoughts on where we're at on the injury front heading into the Wake Forest game?
Yeah, I mean, really the goal for this team is just to continue to get healthy and get guys back. I mean, this is probably the softest stretch of your schedule for sure. So, you just want to be gearing up. You have Louisville in a few weeks, but until then, like you just don't rush guys back, and that's what I think they're trying to do, and just trying to load manage and make sure guys are healthy, because these next couple of games should be are very, very winnable. And you want to make sure you get out of those as unscathed as possible. So, pretty positive news on the injury front, and we'll see kind of who is ready to go on Saturday.
All right, time to turn the page, or time to put a bow on the FSU game. Give our final thoughts. We've both gone back and watched the game. We've had a little bit of time to digest what happened in this game, the good and the bad that happened in this game. So, the offense, Jordan, moved the ball well. You can't take anything away from the offense. Put up 500 yards of total offense. The caveat to that is they didn't finish in the red zone, right? We had to settle for 7 field goal attempts. We hit 5 of the 7. We did win the turnover battle. Did not turn the ball over, so that's always good. Cade Klubnik definitely protected the ball. Defense, stifling in the run game. FSU only produced 22 yards on 23 attempts, so less than a yard per carry for the Seminoles. You can't be mad at that. And then special teams, right? Hoosier hits 5 of 7 field goals. The 2 that he missed were completely not his fault. The blocking needs work, specifically on that left side. Dabo mentioned in his post-game press conference. So what were your thoughts on the FSU game now that you've got a chance to go back and watch the game and kind of digest everything that happened in that game?
Yeah, I'll start offensively. You already hit on it. I think, moving the ball well. I thought the execution for the most part on a play-by-play basis was pretty good. Kind of in the aftermath, the post-game press conferences and listening, it kind of seemed like that the red zone struggles were more a product of, was more a product of your coaches than really the players necessarily. And just some of the kind of the decision making on that end when they got down in the red zone, Dabo was clearly not very happy about, and he talked about it. And he felt like they needed to do better. They didn't put their guys in great positions. And so, I think all of that was correctable. I mean, we've seen this team finish in the red zone, and I think those are things that are going to get corrected. And obviously, if you hit two, if you don't miss two field goals, the score does look a little bit different, and we're probably talking about it a little bit different. But hey, shout out to Nolan Hooser. He hit the ones that weren't. He hit the ones that were available to him. He won ACC Specialist of the Week. So,
As he should have.
yeah. So that was good. Um, and so, I came away like less frustrated. I was really frustrated at the outcome just because they didn't finish drives. But, coming out of it, I still feel pretty good about this offense. And I think those things, the struggles that we saw on Saturday are correctable. And Florida State's defense, when they come to play, they are a really tough group. And they're definitely the toughest you've seen since you played Georgia in week 1. So, I'm not really as, I'm not super concerned. I didn't see anything super concerning from the offense. And obviously the special teams, the kicking, that obviously that's something that needs to be corrected because, if that's a exploit that other teams will try to hit on you, you got to be prepared for it. So, defensively, I thought, you already mentioned it. Run game, fantastic. Run defense was really good. My frustration, and it's kind of a parallel of the offense, like where they didn't finish all the time. Like they could have gotten. There were moments where they could have gotten off the field and just they didn't. And it let Florida State kind of feel like they were in the game more than they should be. Credit to Brock Glenn. I thought he played pretty admirably. Given some of the surrounding talent around him, especially at the receiver position.
Yeah.
But I felt like Clemson could have had a better performance, and they left some meat on the bone. And again, I think that was more of a product of guys not executing at times, whether it's guys not being gap sound or not really gap sound, but guys not being cognizant of their assignment. Guys being out of position or being slow, like when Florida State, when any time a team goes 4 for 4 on fourth down, it's not ideal. So I just felt like they needed to finish drives better.
And they weren't all 4th and 1 either.
No, they were not all 4th and 1. Some of these were 4th and medium, 4th and long at times. So, that just has to be cleaned up because I don't think that it was really a problem with like the play calling or anything. And I felt like the pass rush was inconsistent at times. I think it's at some moments Brock Glenn had probably too much time to throw. Other moments you got to the quarterback really well. And we already talked about on Saturday the guys that flashed off the edge. I thought Jaheim Lawson was probably your best defensive lineman. Him or Peyton Page. I thought both of them were extremely impactful on this game. But from a down-to-down basis, it was kind of up and down with how much pressure you were getting. So that's something that this group is still going to is still kind of developing in because we just haven't seen the pressures and tackle for loss numbers that I think you would expect out of this group. So all in all, still good performance. You won the game pretty comfortably. And the final score doesn't really reflect how much better you played. And we're still talking about meat left on the bone. So still feel good about the trajectory of this team. And I think Saturday gives you an opportunity, I think, based on the opponent, to kind of get some things right.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. I think the offense did a lot good. You can't put up 500 yards of total offense and not play well, right? They did a heavy dose of Mafia in this game. I think Clemson got, maybe slightly conservative in the red zone. And part of that was how Florida State was playing them, right? And give Florida State's defense credit. They definitely got up for this game. I think the defensive line probably for Florida State probably played their best game that they've put on the field against Clemson this past weekend. So we didn't capitalize on as many drives as we obviously should have. When you go over in the red zone, that's never good, right? But at the same time, Cade took care of the ball. We had to settle for field goals, but luckily this year we have a field goal kicker that's been very consistent Outside of those 2 blocks that we already talked about, and that was not his fault at all. It wasn't like he kicked the ball low or anything like that. It's just the protection collapsed on him, and there's nothing he could do about that. Outside of that, I think he probably would have went 7 for 7 on the day and probably set himself a little record there. But he did not get the chance due to his protection. So shout out to Nolan. Feels good to have a kicker that you can kind of rely on. Goes out there, kicks on the road. We needed pretty much every single one of those field goals, right? Game was never really in doubt, but it could have got in doubt pretty quickly if Nolan wasn't out there hitting those field goals that we needed him to hit. You mentioned the defense. I think Jaden Lucas probably had a rough day. Ashton Hampton ends up coming in, plays majority of the snaps. He's looking like he's developing well. You mentioned Jaheim Lawson. That guy's growing up right before our eyes. He is looking better with each and every game that he's playing. So I look for his playing time to increase, and maybe they get to slide Peter Woods inside a little bit more because of how well Jaheim Lawson seems to be coming along this season, that he may be able to take the bulk of those defensive end snaps at the edge position and let Peter Woods kind of slide inside a little bit more. So I think that'll be beneficial to the defense going forward. Hopefully he continues to develop. AJ Hoffler is right there as well. I think he's developing nicely this season, and his playing time will probably increase as the season goes. But like you said, Jordan, overall, a win is a win, right? It wasn't pretty at all times, but again, the game was never in doubt. You go on the road against a team that really wanted to kind of throw a wrench in Clemson's season, because essentially that's all Florida State was playing for. And they definitely got up for the game, and they were ready. Shout out to Brock Glenn. I mean, that dude balled out. Didn't get any help from his receivers, thankfully. But he played pretty well. Glad to see us get out of Tallahassee with a win, won the turnover margin. Definitely some things to clean up, but hey, still cruising right along, getting better each and every game. And I think as Clemson fans, we can take that win and we can certainly be happy with it.